Thank you, everybody, for coming. First of all, just as we go through the week, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Happy for we're thankful for a lot of things. I'm proud of our players, putting together their second annual turkey drive, which is tonight, just so everybody knows. Benefits 8 organizations. So excited about our players doing that, and they're a big part of contributing to that. With that said, disappointed in the loss against Northwestern, 24-14. Had plenty of opportunities. I think it's a matter of 5-6 plays, and that's where the game was won or lost on their side and our side. They play really well. Got to give them a lot of credit. They're Big Ten West champs for a reason. They don't beat themselves, and we beat ourselves. That's how it came down to it. There was multiple drops. There were 2 interceptions, a sack fumble, missed a 4th and 1. Cover 2, we can break on a play, don't get it. Miss a field goal. One of the kickoffs before the half. So there you go. That's the name of the game. And when you talk about them, you don't talk about many negative plays or bad plays or anything like that. So they played like a champion plays. And we've learned a lot of how to be able to do that and continue to add to that for our repertoire as we continue to get older and put that in our bank as we continue to go through the years. So I got to give them a lot of credit, though. But we got a great opportunity this week, chance to go to a bowl and then bring the Axe home. It's one of the most traditional college football games in college football, and we're excited to be able to play in it, very honored to play in it, and we respect the rivalry tremendously. It's not very difficult to tell our players a little bit about this week and what it means. Tomorrow we'll actually educate them about the Axe and what that means and the history of the rivalry. Today we talk about what we have to do to be able to win a game, and then tomorrow we kind of educate them a little bit more about the rivalry. With so many young players playing it for the first time, we've got to be able to educate them exactly what it means. So we're excited, and we've got a great opportunity, and we'll leave it at that. So with that, open up for questions.
BG, how would you assess your quarterback situation from the entire season with Zach and Tanner?
It's developing, evolving. There's been highs, there's been lows. It's been like a giant wave. There's been good, there's been bad. But they're both freshmen, and I've seen an enormous amount of positive from both of them. To do what they're doing as young guys is really good. Then I've seen some things that we've got to be able to correct. But one thing I've seen from them a lot of times is once they make a mistake, they rarely make that mistake again, and that's a credit to them.
This is sort of what you think you're going to get with true freshman redshirt.
People. I think I respect everybody's opinion, as I've always said, and how everybody writes and just what they think. But we're exactly where I thought we would be. I think it could have been a little bit better. Sure, could have been a lot worse. Yeah. But when you talk about when you have those freshmen, I mean, they've played almost better than I thought they could play. When you play true freshmen or you play a redshirt freshman, I mean, it can get catastrophic quick, right? Mentally, physically, and emotionally. You can also have really highs. It's hard to be able to get those highs sustainable over a long period of time. You can do that if your surrounding cast is maybe really experienced, played a ton of football, can really kind of bring you into this safety net. If not, you're all kind of growing up at the same time, and that's very difficult to do, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So I think they've handled the pressure. I think they've handled the expectation of going in there and executing at a very high level. I'm proud of them, and we've got a long way to go. That doesn't mean we're where we need to be. A lot of it's unacceptable. But again, we in every area, I can talk about every position of how we've grown and got better. The result might not be there just yet. And the inconsistency at times is there, but the inconsistency is expected. It's not acceptable, but it's expected to happen. And you're always ready for that as a head football coach when you're coaching the youngest team in America.
Coach, Minnesota has struggled the last couple of years on the road in the Big Ten. How are you helping the team mentally prepare for this tough road challenge?
Well, we got to quit talking about how we're struggling on the road in the Big Ten. And that's how we have to stop. We have to stop talking about that. It's hard because I only have them for a few hours a day in the 4 walls, and that's my message all the time. It doesn't matter where we play, parking lot, grass field, field turf, Canada, here. It doesn't matter. Wherever we get an opportunity to play, we've got to play. And we've got to break those stereotypes and the stigma of what we can't do or what we haven't done. Now we're in the process of doing that. And the influx of our young players, that's why we brought them here, to be able to break that cycle. And the guys that are here have to be able to break that cycle. But you don't do it by talking about what you haven't done. You talk about what you can do and what the expectation should be. So that's I guess that's how we're working on it. I mean, maybe we could just practice other places and maybe not on campus. We'll come up with some creative ideas.
PG, how do you try to help players that are dealing with tragedy, and what did you try to do with Mo here this week?
Yeah, you know, it's been a crazy year. It's been a very emotional year. Highs, lows. We lost a teammate. A lot of our players have lost either brothers or cousins or siblings, family members. A lot of our staff members have had some things with their own family, their wives, or things like that. It's just been. And then we had the injuries we're dealing with to our best players and guys playing way before they're ready. Those are challenges. You know, we're educators and teachers, so that's life. Right? That's life. And we've had a year that's been very difficult and very hard. Not bad, difficult and hard. That's opportunity for growth, change, and education. So when young people like Muhammad had a tragedy this past week, and you can always tell, our board of Halfers, I didn't even know. One of our assistant trainers came up to me and goes, hey, you might want to check on Mo. He's not acting right. You know, and so that's why we talk about we all touch our players. And that's what the Board of Halfers is for, to be able to go through every one of these players on our team to say, physically, mentally, and emotionally, what do they look like? What's bothering them? And someone says he just doesn't look right. Then we look into it, and bang, he lost one of his closest people in his life, and to a very tragic ending to a life. And so he's dealing with that on a Tuesday practice, you know, and you're talking about going out and beating the Big Ten West champs. He's the starting running back. You know, he's 18 years old, and you're telling him we got to get through this. You know, you got players who, you know, have 203 degree temperatures and never played in the Big Ten, never played in those games, and you're helping them deal with that. So when you're dealing with tragedy, it's a bunch of things. That's grief. You do not ignore the grief. They're usually in my office. That's the first thing. Then we go through different avenues. You know, I start talking to them, and then we have our own mental health specialists here on staff. We have our trainers for that as well. We connect them with a lot of guys on our team. We're very open in what happens. Do you mind if I share that with the team so the team knows? So that way everybody rallies around him. And I think he's gotten through that pretty well. You know, and the best way I've ever experience tragedy or how I deal with it is be able to celebrate that person's life by how you act, how you play, how you go about your life. What did you learn from that person, and what did you like, and instill that in part of your lifestyle and make that a part of you now as you move on into the future as a husband, as a father. So, you know, it's unfortunate, but he's handling it really well, and he's a very, very tough young man. He's very mentally tough, emotionally tough, physically tough, which you get a chance to see on Saturdays. But there's a lot more important things than football, and that will always come first in our program. Our players' feelings, not like, you know, feelings like I'm talking physically, mentally, and emotionally. How they feel will come way before a football game.
PJ, have you been surprised by the attendance numbers, and how concerned are you as you guys are building this thing, the impact that could have on recruiting?
Well, we're almost full for 2019. We have 2 commits already for 2020 who have been at every home game. My focus is on the people who are actually there. That's it. I mean, you look across college football in general. I think whether it's NFL, college, attendance is down as it is. But again, for us, I know when we build it, everybody will be there. And, you know, there's so many things to do in this town too. And I knew that would probably be something that took a little while to be able to get. But again, like I reminded somebody else, I mean, how many sellouts have we had in the last 10 years? All right, that's one of the other things we want to change on a weekly basis. That's going to take a lot to be able to do that. But again, that's one of the goals I have for this program. That's why we're doing it the way we're doing it. And we're not going to come off that plan. Period. It's not like I'm sitting there changing and panicking, and now I'm bringing in 20 JUCO players for year 3. Nope. We were going to get way younger before we get any better and more experience, and that's what we're doing. And then when you look at our 2019 class, it could be majority of high school kids. They're going to help play next year. There's going to be a lot of freshmen and sophomore on that field next year. And that's exactly what I said was going to happen. And as we continue to go, I'm not concerned with that at all. I think we have an incredible fan base. I think we have a lot of people who love and care for us, and the people at the games and our fans and our student section and the band. I mean, I give them a ton of credit, and I appreciate their loyalty. And those are the ones we're going to focus on.
At Western, it also went down before then it went way up.
Yeah, at Western Michigan, it went way down when I got there, and then it went way, 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 way up, where you're selling out your last year and college game days there, and I mean things that people could never imagine happening, and saying it won't happen, especially when you're going through the rebuilding part, you're going through the dig and the foundation part. People are like, oh wow, what's going on over there? Remember, we started completely over. Just because you have 5, 6 players that have experience and are really, really good players, that doesn't make you a really good football team. There's a lot of things that go into that. There's the academic part, there's the social part, there's the spiritual part, there's the football part, there's the recruiting part, there's the depth part, there's the brand part, there's the perception part, there's all these things. So you got it.
Building a culture has kind of been one of the biggest things that you've focused on since you got here. What would a win against Wisconsin do for that culture to continue to build, which hasn't happened in so long?
Well, again, we take one day at a time in our culture. We want to be better today than we were yesterday. Right? And we want to respond to whatever result we get in the right way. So just one game's not going to be able to turn everything. But again, when you win, it helps. When you lose, if you respond the right way, it helps. You're continually building those scars as you continue to go, right? And you do what's necessary. You build enough that's necessary to become a champion. Every program that you look at, that we all look at as top programs, were somewhat started over and built at one point. And it was really tough at the beginning, right? Really tough. But we've won the exact same amount of games as we did last year. We're 5-6 right now. We're not 0-12. So we've won a lot of really good football games against some good teams. We've lost some games against some good teams, and then we've had kind of a mixture in between. So these are the things. These are all the things we're learning on what a culture looks like, how to deal. Cultures deal with things a certain way, and that's what you're building. How do you connect people? Right? And you want to have that environment in your culture that no matter what happens, you can grow positively from it. But, we haven't won this game for, I don't know, 15 years or whatever it is. That's what we keep talking about. Sooner or later, a group's going to end that. It's going to end that. And we have to find a group that's ready to end that.
PJ, minus 11 turnover margin in Big Ten games. That obviously got to be a point of emphasis here in the offseason.
Yeah, the ball has not been the program. We stress it, we coach it, we demand it. It's part of our. There's 3 things up in our team meeting room, right? Besides the Minnesota Golden Gophers logos, right? I mean, it's the hyperculture, it's row the boat, and it's the ball's the program. Those are the only 3 things in our team meeting, and those are the 3 most important things. And we haven't done that for multiple different reasons. To be able to value the ball, you have to know what it's like to not value the ball. Well, we have a lot of guys who are really finding out what not valuing the ball is. I take it back to Western Michigan, Zach Terrell, and our quarterback, and we went 1-11, and he threw, 20-some interceptions. We were worst in the country, and 4 years later, we were number 1 in the country. That was the only difference. I mean, we had the same, we wasn't the same guys, but it was recruited guys, but they understood that the ball was the program, and we didn't turn the ball over till the 7th or 8th game, that late. So understanding that that's how you win games. That's how Northwestern has been able to win the Big Ten West. But we're minus 11 in the turnover battle. We're lucky we're 5-7. In terms of exactly, or 5-6, right where we're at. We're lucky we're there. So we've got to be able to fix that.
When you look at whether hit Zach's or Tanner's interceptions, how many, when you go back and look at them and you'd say, that's just a rookie mistake there, he didn't see something, he got confused on a coverage or whatever?
I would say, I don't even know if it's a majority. We've had some interceptions, been like, man, the one on the, it's just the ball's missed by that much. Then it bounces around, stays on somebody's back, hits off another guy, and then it lands in somebody's hand. Those are hard to be able to say that was the quarterback's fault. The second one, that's a bad decision, bad read, right? So I've got to do a better job of coaching them up and getting them to that point to be able to not make that throw, go to the second read and check it down, and we got an 8-yard gain. But I would say that a lot of them have to do with, we had some down the field throws that we have to go win the 50-50 ball, right? We need to make it 90-10. And they pick off that ball, which wouldn't even be a bad ball in my opinion, because he's got a one-on-one battle, and we always say an overthrow is a bad throw because nobody has a chance at it. At least you give our guy a chance to go make a play, and eventually in recruiting and development, we want our guys to be better than their guys, and they can go make the play. So I wouldn't say it's as much as you think it is. I think they're playing really well at times. The sack fumble that we had, you can't see anybody coming off your backside right when you start to throw. We got to have better protection. So I think they're playing at a high level, but not consistent enough, a high level comparatively speaking to where they are.
Talk
About Cashman's journey, from being a walk-on to getting that scholarship and now going to his final game.
Yeah, I didn't get an opportunity to recruit him, but I do know that we put him on scholarship for a reason. I don't know what he was like before that. He wasn't on scholarship for the 3 years he was prior to us. But the minute I got here, I was like, this guy's going to be really, really special. You could tell. And had some injuries last year that kind of held him back a little bit here and there. But I think you saw what he's able to do, especially at our will linebacker position. He's perfect role for it. A lot of things we can do schematically to be able to give him the ability to make the plays because he's our best player, and we do that. And Joe Rossi did a nice job the last 2 weeks to be able to have that happen, put him in the role to be able to make the plays, and then he's got to be able to make those plays. He was put in roles to make plays in the Illinois game. We just didn't make them. And but again, putting him in a role to make those plays, 20 tackles, that's an enormous amount. It's one thing if your safety's got 20 tackles when it's 15-yard gains coming out. It's another thing when your guy's making tackles in the box. His journey's been incredible. He's had basically almost 3 head coaches, 3 different cultures that he's known here. And he has been nothing but an advocate of our program, and nothing but representing the Minnesota Golden Gophers in a first-class fashion. And I give him a lot of credit for that because he's one of those guys who have stayed. And he's one of our best players. And I'd like to be able to think that the program's helped him even become a better person than he is. He's got his own nonprofit organization already. He's just a tremendous young man, bright future.
Any injury updates on Donnell, Terrell Smith?
It looks like, as of today, looks like most of the guys will be back. We'll get some guys back for the last game. I think it's a little too early to say for definite, but it's trending towards the way that we'll get some guys back.
What are some of the challenges presented by Wisconsin's physical offensive line and Jonathan Taylor's running style?
I think you answered your own question. Jonathan Taylor's running style and their offensive line's physicality. Their system's really good. They gap you out. They make you fit gaps. They give you different formations. They extend gaps out. They're very physical, especially in their gap schemes. And Taylor falls forward. He doesn't go down with one person hitting him. He's almost at 2,000 yards, and with injuries to some of their other guys, he's almost had to do it by himself a lot of the year. They've had a quarterback change due to injury, and he's been able to take a load off of that quarterback. And when people know, Wisconsin's always been, we're going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball, and we still run the ball. And when they're doing that, you got a really good football team. They present a lot of challenges for us.
Any more questions?
Okay, row the boat, Sky Mine, go Gophers. Thank you, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.